Hello, and welcome to the Big Bad Bike Show. This week in Austin, under the majestic stars and stripes, a coronation took place. In the midst of the red, white and blue, the motorcycle world watched to see who would be crowned king and who would be going home the jester. I'm your host, Sam McCauley, and joining me as always is the up north biker, Ash Hall.
Hey up.
And bringing us the news like Paul Revere riding from Boston to Lexington, it's Chris Chippy Ballard.
Hello.
A little bit of history there with Paul Revere. I hope I got it right. Anyway, if you're listening to us, thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, you can hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell, and that way you'll never miss an episode. That's our intros done. People must be getting used to the intros by now. I say people must be getting used to it. Nobody listens to us, but anyway. So coming up in the show, we're going to be doing a little bit of feedback from last week with the all new Who Am I. We'll be catching up in the MotoGP at Austin and COTA. We'll be looking forward to the World Superbikes at Assen. And Ash, this is the first time we've done this in the show, Ash will be reviewing the Honda CRF300L. Is that correct, Ash?
That is correct, and I can already see the look on Chippy's face. He's really excited about
when I'm
that.
going to sleep.
You're such a prick, it's unreal.
Chippy's one of these guys that likes bikes. He likes watching bikes go around in circles, but he's no interest in bikes as a machine, do you? He's none.
Not really. No.
But that's fair enough.
When I'm going to switch off.
I like watching football, but if somebody said to me, do you want to play football? I'd be like, no. I just want to get drunk and start a fight. Anyway, let's move on. We've got quite a lot to get through this week, so we just crack on, yeah?
Yeah, let's just do it.
So last week's Who Am I? Do you want me to repeat the clues?
Yeah, I think you should,
Yeah, go
because
on.
Chippy...
Have either of you Googled it?
No, I haven't actually.
No, I don't need to. I already know it.
Right. I raced in the Motorcycle Grand Prix between 1958 and 1967, and I won a total of 9 championships on the 125, 250 and 500cc. My first entry in the Formula 1 Grand Prix was 1963, and my last entry was 1974. I'm one of top 6 riders with the most TT wins of all time. Who am I? Chippy?
John Surtees.
Wrong.
It's
It's
not.
not John Surtees. Ash, you any clue?
No. Did Big Dazza get it, though?
Big Dazza got. I knew Big Dazza would know this because me and Big Dazza talked about this guy before. So he replied saying it's Mike the Bike Hailwood. That's what he's called, Mike Hailwood. The big clue there was I'm in the top 6 riders with the most TT wins of all time. John Surtees has only won 6 TTs in his entire lifetime. Mike Hailwood won 14. He had the most TT wins until I think it was 1993, whenever Joey Dunlop eventually won his 15th TT race, and that was around the same time. I don't know if it's exactly the same time, but it was around the same time that Honda Japan rewarded him with a RC45 ride. Around that, that's maybe not exactly true. So, but something around them dates. Yeah, so Mike Hailwood, Big Dazza got it. Big Dazza, thanks very much for your continued support. We appreciate it. It's good to know that there's somebody out there listening. It's not that we don't like you, mate. We do. We love your attention. We just would like a few more of you. So if you can fight that good fight and get the message out there. The Big Bad Bike Show. They're not so big, but they're very bad. Anyway, if you would like to contact us and you would like to answer the next Who Am I, which is coming up shortly, you can get in contact at podcast@bigbadbs.co.uk. Alright, Ash.
Yeah.
It's your turn this week.
It is my turn for the Who Am I. So, here come the clues. I was born in Rimini, Italy. I rode in Moto3 on a Mahindra motorcycle. And I have rode for Red Bull KTM. So they're the clues.
That's very vague, that. Yeah, game again.
Do them again?
No, go
So
again.
born in Rimini, Italy. Rode in Moto3 on the Mahindra. And I have rode for Red Bull KTM. Any ideas?
So that could be a dozen people.
Yeah,
It could be a dozen people.
That's quite a good one then.
Rode for Mahindra.
Well, the
Moto 3.
Mahindra, it was a Mahindra manufacturer.
Yeah, Mahindra Moto 3. And he rode for Red Bull KTM.
Red Bull KTM, yeah.
Rode, that's past tense. Rode for Red Bull KTM. I'll have to have a think about it.
I'm glad that's
KTM
quick.
in Red Bull KTM.
Well,
in
it just says
93?
it just
I just
says
said Red Bull KTM.
who are now in MotoGP and everything.
Look at
So-
your faces. I thought you were going to get this like straight away. I'm not quite happy about that.
Well, I could sit down and try and think about it. Usually, for the listeners, we send these on WhatsApp and we've got time to think about them. But
Yeah, but I kind of just did it
but because
pretty quick.
we're recording, we don't really have time to do that. If I sit down and think about it, I'll go through all the riders that I think are first Italian, and then we'll try and figure it out. Big Dazza, if you know it, get in contact because Chippy is looking absolutely stunned.
Yes.
He's
I don't
stunned that
wanna Google it.
Ash can actually come up with something as smart as that.
Yeah, check me out.
Right. Yeah, I'll reiterate again, if you would like to get in contact with us and answer the who am I, because Chippy and I don't know it, you can send us an email at podcast@bigbadbs.co.uk, and if you want to leave a name you can, or just leave a pseudonym, fake name. And there's also a Twitter account which is the Big Bad BS. You can answer it there if you would like. Anyway, what are we moving on to next?
What have you been up to?
Not very much, to be honest, mate. Well, the weeks are just kind of blurring together. I was going to say I rode to Silverstone, but that was last week.
Yeah.
So you can see how exciting my past week's been. Apart from looking forward to and watching MotoGP, I've not really done anything. That's it. My whole week's just been MotoGP. Just
Yeah.
ready, waiting for it and watching it. And suffering work, basically. You know that sort of
Yeah, I
feeling.
know that. I actually got into work today and I looked at my mate and I was like, is it Friday yet?
That's how everybody feels on a Monday. I was two things from last week. I was editing the show. The first thing is, you'll notice I haven't sweared, and that's because last week I was cringing at how much I was swearing, like genuinely cringing. I was like, this is really bad. So I'm going to hit the nail on the head. The odd one might come out, but I think I let myself go a little bit. I've let myself go in a lot of ways. I need to start reining it all in and tighten it all up. Oh, I fixed the hole in my door.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, good.
Yeah. Well, it's nearly fixed.
Until you put another one in there.
My wife's laughing. It's nearly fixed. So what happened was I just bought a little tiny paste of, that plastic wood.
Laminate.
Sort of plastic wood. Yeah, plastic wood stuff. You kind of stick it on and then smooth it. It's like a little sort of putty that you
So
put
it's
on and
basically
then sand
bodging
it.
putty.
Of course it's bodging. I'm not going to go with great effort here. But anyway, I only bought a little tube, but the tube wasn't enough to go over the whole thing because I didn't want to buy a big tub because I'll ultimately not use it all. Anyway, there's still half a hole there. Half a hole. But if it takes you an hour to dig a hole, how long does it take you to dig half a hole? Right, so back to, I was swearing too much, that's the first thing. The second one is, now this is also kind of cringy. Last week, I was talking about something I'd heard a journalist say, and I referred to them as another journalist. As
if you're a journalist.
I said, I was listening to it back and I was like, oh my god, I'm not a journalist. I know I'm trying to play podcast here, but I was like, I can't be doing that. I can't have people thinking that I actually think something of myself. Yeah, so I felt a bit like a loser doing that. I didn't edit it, I put it in anyway because whatever. But yeah, so that's the two things I noticed from last week. But what I've been up to, fixing a hole in my door, walking my dog, generally just falling down the black hole of despair.
Yeah.
And loving bikes, that's it.
Chippy, what about you? What you been up to?
All my family went home after they came up to
Oh yeah, of
see
course
us.
I did. Yeah.
Yay!
No,
I
it
think
was
I'm
nice
gutted I
having
didn't
them
get to
here.
see him actually. I'll have to see him
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah, they'll be up again soon. Other than that, my chaffinch has disappeared. I haven't seen it since they left. And my wildflowers have come up. which is good. They're starting to grow.
Oh, very good.
So yeah, but that's been about it. Apart from that, I've been at work. I haven't even caught up on last week's show yet. I haven't listened to it. I've only just finished the week before.
I was watching the MotoGP and they were talking about how at this time of the year in Austin all the spring flowers come out, and they even said come for the bikes, stay for the botany. And I thought maybe Chip Hat with these little botany sections going down the right direction. Maybe some bikers, hairy bikers, do like a little bit of botany on the side. I bet they do. I like a little bit of botany myself there, Fred.
Well, I've been taking a leaf out of Chippy's book this last week. I did some gardening.
I'm shocked.
I did mowed the front and back lawn. I edged it all. Got rid of a couple of bushes I didn't need. I've been
got rid of all that dog poo that's been sat there for about 8 months.
I've been sat there for 8 months.
How many months has it been?
Oh, I don't know. Well, you know why. So, anyway, yeah. So,
do you ever think about? This is more for you, Chip. Oh, sorry, Ash. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Just thinking about dog poo. Because I cut my grass and then I was throwing all my grass into a brown bin, and I left it for. It was been there for about a year and a half, and it was just slowly disintegrating into other stuff. There were spiders living in it and flies living in it. The council came and took it. No, eventually I filled it up, so the council came and took it when they emptied the bins. But it got me thinking about compost heap. Like if you started throwing dog poo in there, throw a couple of worms in there, and you could build it into a compost. That's like something I think you would do. That's up your street. Like
yeah, but it'd be absolutely stinking.
I wouldn't do it with dog poo.
No,
I'm not saying use dog poo,
but no, I was more of a little compost heap because the bees like it. It's warm, so you get a little bee's nest in there.
Right. Yeah. Right. We are devilishly close of delving into a botany podcast here, which is maybe something we could do in the future. But right now it's motorbikes, so let's get ourselves back on track. We went wide at the apex. We went too wide. We need to get ourselves back, get back on the throttle, and get back in the racing line. See the way I did that? Segued it back in. Do you want to give us the news? I am good at this. I should be a host of a podcast. Oh, wait. Yeah, go ahead, Chip.
Right. It's a little jingle playing. Right, the news. I say this every week now.
That's how it starts every week. Meaning, Chip hasn't done any homework.
No, well, actually, I've done it in the last hour, but there really isn't much going on. But the first bit is it's looking less likely that Toprak will be moving to MotoGP with Yamaha. He had his test last week, but apparently Lynn Jarvis has hinted that his next rider is going to be somebody from the MotoGP paddock that's already there. But there was rumours a few weeks ago they were looking at Alonso Lopez from Moto2, which is the same. He rides for the same team that they got Quartararo from.
Right.
I don't know if I was clutching at straws, but I've listened to Len Jarvis have that interview in a couple of different scenarios. The first one was on the MotoGP app, and whenever I heard it the first time, instinctively, I've listened to it again and I'm not sure, but instinctively the first time I thought Len Jarvis almost gave Toprak a go in the yacht, because I'd imagine Toprak's making a lot of noise, and Kieran Sofwoglu's maybe making a lot of noise. And I think Len Jarvis, in a way, was saying that, I'm not saying this is true, by the way, I think he's saying that he gave Toprak a go in the Yamaha just so he would see he's not good enough to ride the Yamaha. You know what I mean? Because you see how far, not to say he's not good enough and he couldn't be good enough, but right now Yamaha are in a position where they need somebody like it's going to hit the ground running. If Toprak had to come in and like they were saying how far away he was from Cara Crutchlow, and no offence to Cara Crutchlow, but being a test rider at the minute, I don't expect Cara Crutchlow to sit in the grid in a wild card and win races. You know what I mean? He's a good rider. Like he gave him his dues. He's first British rider in 35 years to win a MotoGP race, but he's not going to sit in the grid. If he was wild card next week, he's not going to come in and win a race, and that's what Yamaha ultimately want. Somebody that's going to. So if you're even behind Cara Crutchlow, you're probably in about 10th to 15th place. So
thing is though, these lads that could possibly come in from World Superbikes, I know they're obviously elite a bike, but the power difference between obviously a production bike and a MotoGP bike is going to be massive.
Yeah.
It's a lot of them are going to go over and be like, oh yeah, it'll just be like riding a World Superbike, and then think, shit, this thing's got some go about it, and sometimes they can't handle it. So maybe that's what's happened.
Yeah, I listened to I don't know his name. I could look it up quickly, but you'll know who I'm talking about. He's like the principal of Aprilia. I listened to an interview with him, and he was saying that because the bikes are so powerful, he says everybody, whenever they've got a space in the bike for some reason, everybody's ringing up. They all want to go. They all want to prove themselves. But he says they've got to think of the rider's safety, because some riders jump on that bike or any of these bikes and they think they've got what it takes. But he says they have to think of their safety because they're just so powerful. They'll just send you scattering up the road. Imagine being one of them. Jesus. Be on it for like 2 seconds. Wouldn't even finish a warm-up lap.
You dickhead. Cool.
Right. Next bit of news.
Right, it's not really news. I wouldn't even put a bong in for this. But it's the only other thing that I can think to mention is this MotoGP Formula 1 weekend keeps getting mentioned. And the more I think about it, the worse I think it sounds. Because we've already highlighted there wouldn't be enough time for MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3 practice qualifying and race sessions before you even get to Formula 1, Formula 2 and the Porsche Cup, or whatever they have. But then I was thinking the other day something else about it, which there's already not enough room in the paddock for some of the sort of lower teams in Moto3 and Moto2. They're sort of pushed out the way and...
Well, what would happen is Formula 1 would take priority over the paddock, 100%. Yeah, exactly. They would get all the paddocks, and then MotoGP and Moto3, Moto2, and everyone, they'll be the ones that are trying to do it out of a trailer. And if they're going to do this over a weekend, they're not going to be able to. They're going to have to start on like Wednesday and go through to Sunday. They're just not going to have enough time. It's a stupid idea.
I'm on a different perspective from you two now, because whenever I first heard this, my initial reaction was, this is stupid, why are you doing this? But it was later on that day or the next day I wanted to tweet about it, and they had a picture of the Ferrari, and they had I think it was like Enea Bastianini, I was going to say Jack Miller, they had Enea Bastianini who's on a Ducati, he's red, you got the Ferrari which is red, it looked like a good promo. But the more I thought about F1 and MotoGP at the same weekend, I thought about it would be exciting, there would be a lot of hubbub about it, and it would be an exhibition. It wouldn't be a proper weekend's racing. It would be an exhibition. You wouldn't have, in my opinion, you wouldn't have Moto3, you wouldn't have Moto2, you wouldn't have you probably wouldn't have Formula 2 or Formula 3. It would just be the spectacle of the MotoGP and Formula 1. The rest of it would have to take a back seat. If I remember correctly, was it not, did they not used to do just a solo MotoGP race or something in Qatar at one time? Or was that World Superbikes, where they just did World Superbikes and they didn't do the other ones? Or am I just talking nonsense?
I'll tell you what would be good though, if they just did it like you say there, the GP and the Formula 1, but just as a one-off spectacle type thing.
It would have to be an exhibition. It would be completely be an exhibition.
And do you know what would make it even more interesting? Just chuck the Formula 1 cars and the GP bikes on the track at the same time and just let them all go at it.
They have done that before, not multiple, but they have put a MotoGP bike, and it might have been a 500. I think it was a MotoGP bike. Casey Stoner was on it. I think he was on Ducati. I'm not sure, but they had a Moto3. They had a MotoGP bike and a Formula 1. But excuse me. Yeah, it would be an exhibition. It'd be completely an exhibition.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you put racers on the grid, they're going to race, but. I think it would bring in a lot of attention. I think, obviously as if I know, as if I can predict the future, but I would imagine that you're going to need some coin in your pocket to go to that.
Oh, yeah. Especially if it was like Monaco or something.
Yeah, it would be somewhere daft. It's not going to be at Silverstone, isn't it? Even at Silverstone, it would probably be far too expensive. But, it's going to be somewhere where the super elite can go.
Yeah. Where you pull up in your yacht and you pitch up and you have to pay $1 million just to pitch up.
The MotoGP doesn't go to Monaco, does it? So it has to be somewhere where the MotoGP and the Formula One are both already established.
Could you imagine how cool that would be, though? MotoGP at Monaco.
Oh yeah, that's basically an Italian road race, isn't it? Monaco is Monaco in Italy?
I figured you would know this, considering you play that board game with Helen so much.
My geography's terrible. Mate.
Ask Helen. Helen will know. Helen will know.
I thought Monaco was like a country. Is Monaco not? Or like...
Oh, this is great. Everyone's going to think, well, you two think I'm thick as pig shit, and now we all just look like it.
I thought it was classed as a country.
So according to the smartest person in the room, easily, in my eyes at least, it is France, but Chippy, you're right, it's its own little sort of state. It's a bit like the Vatican. That's the news. Ash forgets to put his microphone on mute while he chokes himself half to death laughing at his little joke. Right, so that was the news. Let us know what you think. Get in touch. Send us an email if you think the idea of F1 and MotoGP is a good idea. If you think it's a bad idea. If you've got some ideas about what would happen. Send us an email, podcast@bigbadbs.co.uk. We'd love to hear your opinions, love to hear your thoughts. And right, so we move on to the weekend's racing.
Let's do it.
I thought we'd have a bit of a change to proceedings, so I think we should start with MotoGP because people only listen for 6 minutes, so we need to get it. We need to get into the need to get into the Billy Big Licks as soon as possible, eh?
Okay, MotoGP. I'm going to start it off then. Are we doing qualifying or are we just doing race or what?
Do qualifying because I haven't watched it because you ruined it for me.
I didn't ruin it for you, did I?
You did. You told me that Alex Rins was basically on the front row.
I didn't. I said he was on fire.
Yeah, he did say he was on fire, didn't he? But that does kind of suggest he's in the front row. Right, so the only thing I've really got to note from the qualifying is, yes, Alex Rins was very good, but in the end he only got third. I think the biggest thing for me from the qualifying was the fact that Jorge Martin was killing it all weekend.
He really was.
Qualifying. He was easily the fastest on track, and it looked like he was going to maybe storm away with the weekend, and then in qualifying he came off. And ultimately had to start from 12th place.
But so many people were coming off. I mean, look at Jack Miller. 5 times in quals he came off.
Yeah, we'll get into that anyway. But yeah, so that was well, I suppose that is a part of qualifying, yeah. No, he didn't come off 5 times in qualifying. He came off FP1, FP2 throughout the whole weekend. Up until qualifying, he came off 5 times, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jack Miller was complaining that he couldn't feel anything from the bike.
Right.
That's what he was saying. Like, obviously, I'm not going to pretend to know that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to riding a MotoGP bike, or even riding a bike around a track. But I can almost imagine what he means when he says he can't feel anything, and it must be a horrible feeling. And obviously, you're a motorbike racer. You want to win races. You want to finish as high up you want to finish on the podium at least. And he was sitting in 3rd place in the race. But if you can't feel anything, you don't know when you're pushing too hard. You don't know when you're going into a corner too hard. I can imagine there's a lot of frustration there. Now, if Jack Miller crashes once, you can say it's a stupid mistake. And I'm sure he could hold his hands up and say it's a stupid mistake. But we all know Jack Miller. He's a decent enough rider. He's not going to crash 6 times in a weekend unless there's a problem.
Obviously, they must have. They would have had a look at the bike data anyway, wouldn't they? Just to see what was kind of like going wrong for him. But then a lot of riders were complaining about the track again.
They always have.
But
that's why it's called the rodeo.
I know, but it just seems to be every track this year so far. It's just been complain. There doesn't seem
to be a track that's been, inverted commas, up to scratch yet.
Just going off topic slightly, you know, there's a competition on the MotoGP website where you can guess the pole position time and win a watch. I was 0.04 of a second out this week. Raging.
Nice watches, them Tissot watches as well.
Yeah.
You've got loads of money, you could just buy one.
Right, so on to the sprint. What did you think of that?
See, we spoke about this a little bit beforehand, and I know you guys didn't really enjoy the sprint, but I thought it was quite good.
It's not I didn't enjoy it. I just don't. I think it's been the least eventful one of all.
Did you see when Fabio was going around the corner and he was close to Rins and he rubbed his back, the back of his levers with the front of his tyre? I was like, bloody hell! Imagine being Rins just thinking, ooh, that's warm. It was.
You get that sort of stuff all the time. They're so close to each other.
But I am loving the sprint because they're just going hell for leather.
See that idea you said that it's the least eventful one so far. Portimao, it was a sprint. It was new. It was 10 laps. Everybody was eager to go out and try and the sprint, and it was hyped up, and there was a lot of adrenaline. It was quite literally, the first race of the season.
And the track also lends itself to being.
Yes, but I think that plays a part in why that sprint was so exciting, because even the first race of the season, if you take the sprint away, like even if the sprint hadn't been there at all, the first race of the season would have been exciting because it's the first race of the season. You know, they've spent all year, well, all off season at least, preparing for this, so there's going to be adrenaline. The second sprint, arguably, if Brad Binder hadn't have done what he done, would it have been as exciting? Brad Binder hadn't come up and won from the front.
That was good.
So it was really good, but I think the commentators hit the nail on the head. The riders themselves have started to realise it's. I know it's not just another, but it's another race. It's another opportunity for points, and it's like you said a few weeks ago, Chippy. If a team or riders are going out and they're thinking, you know what, we don't really have what it takes for the sprint. Let's maybe just use it as like an FP4, possibly. Just try and settle down. It's better to finish the sprint with no points than it is to wreck the bike and thus not have a good ride on Sunday. So, but it started off, which turned out to be a good weekend for Rins. He got second in the sprint, which was very good.
Yeah.
Jorge Martin, who apparently was feeling sick, and that's why he crashed in qualifying, managed to get third.
Yeah, he's been on antibiotics and all sorts, hasn't he?
And then Bagnaia won the race, obviously.
Yeah, but Alex Marquez went down and had a bit of a mare, didn't he? And that was obviously.
Well, apparently he threw up on his helmet.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
Look in your face, said you didn't know that, Ash. Yeah, so he was feeling sick as well. Him and Jorge Martin are both feeling sick.
Johan Mir he's really looking disappointing. Even in the sprint race, he was just obviously he had a bit of a mare in MotoGP, but I was just expecting a bit more from him.
It's the bike, innit? Can't blame him.
Yeah, but then look at Alex Rins, what he did on the LCR.
Yeah, but Alex Rins,
he always goes well there, doesn't he?
Yeah, Alex Rins always goes well there.
Exactly, so it's not always about the bike, it's also about the rider.
Yeah, that's true, that is true.
But I don't think Alex Rins will do much next.
Probably not, but like you say,
few.
because he's an absolute boss on that track, I don't think it matters what bike he would be on. I think he would be up there. Bezzecchi, he was quite far back. He managed to make up a few places, but obviously not enough to get up onto a podium.
Was that in the sprint race?
Yeah, he fell back a bit. He fell back to about 7th or 8th. He did manage to claw a few positions back.
Yeah, he ended up finishing in 6th place.
Great racing from him, which I enjoy watching Marco Bezzecchi. I think he's class.
I'll be honest, the sprint kind of. I knew Alex Rins goes well around there. He won on the Suzuki, he's won in Moto3, he won in Moto2. He's arguably, controversial, he's arguably the king of COTA. Arguably.
I knew you were going to say that.
He's the only rider to have won it in all classes, and he's now the only rider to have won it on 2 manufacturers in MotoGP.
Ooh, Marquez done it on 2 manufacturers, has he, Chippy?
So
how many world championships has Alex Rins won?
Don't care.
2, I think. Did they win Moto3 and Moto2? I'm not sure.
I'm gonna say Alex Rins is definitely now the king of COTA. So
you would say that.
He's definitely got claim to the throne at least.
Definitely. Do you know what? I'm actually a bit gutted. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm a bit gutted Marquez didn't turn up, wasn't able to do COTA, because I do. He is amazing around there, and it would have been quite cool to to
I don't
see
think he would have done anything.
Alex
I don't think he would
Rins.
have.
I reckon he would have been up
honestly
there
don't.
with Alex Rins.
Yeah, I do as well.
I don't think he would have been. Because if Marquez would have come back, like, if Marquez had been there without the crash at Portimao, possibly, but so let's say the crash at Portimao happened as it did, and he came back, he managed to just get back for the race in COTA, he's still going to be suffering from the pain of his broken thumb.
Yeah.
And it's a very physical track, so. And the last time he raced in Austin, he messed up the start and went right back and had to basically start from the last row of the grid. I know he ended up getting like 5th or 6th, so he is amazing around there, but they keep calling him the King of COTA. This is what I keep talking about. That's how they done the same with Rossi. They keep, the King of COTA, Marquez. He's not done anything in years.
No, it's definitely Alex Rins now. He's
And after this weekend, I think I said it in the group chat, after this weekend I thought, and I know, Chippy, you're going to hate me for saying this, and I know I feel like I'm attacking Marquez all the time, but I think Marquez is a phenomenal rider. But I think this weekend, to me, highlighted why Honda have to invest in maybe not younger riders, because I know Alex Rins maybe not that young in terms of, but Marquez is only 30, but they need to start investing in other riders, because when's the last time Marquez completed a full season injury free?
2019.
It's been a long time, and you can well, the way Bagnaya's riding, we'll come to that later. The way Bagnaya's riding, he probably still could mount a challenge. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I reckon Alex Rins should take Marquez's ride.
I think it's a little bit soon to be.
It's a bit soon, yeah, but I think he would do better on the factory Honda. So you can show him what he can do on the LCR.
I wonder if Repsol Honda are thinking they should have gone with Alex Rins rather than Joan Mir.
I reckon so.
That's a good shout, yeah. But then Joan Mir's got the world title, doesn't he? Well, the previous world title. So
if he hadn't got that title,
he might have bring in a little.
I'm not obviously having a dig at him or anything, but because I don't dislike the guy, but that championship was just a bit
you're going to say that was a Mickey Mouse championship? That's basically what you're saying. That's what you just said.
I didn't say
That's what you just said. That's what you said in so many words, isn't it, Chippy?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I'd word it that consistency won that championship, because he only won like one race, didn't he? It was just him finishing sort of top 5 consistently most of the season that got him the championship.
Slow and steady it wins race.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's that old saying: you can only beat who's turning up at the grid. You know what I mean? And if they turn up and crash, you think Quartararo was like, after Marquez was out of the picture, Quartararo was thought to win that championship and then didn't.
Yeah.
But
Mir was there to pick up
rider.
the pieces. I think so.
I think he's a great rider. I really like him.
He fell apart that season, and then he won it one season, and then last season, arguably, Bagnaia won it. He didn't actually win it. Quartararo lost it, because we said this before. He was like 90-something points ahead, and then he fell apart. So does Quartararo get the head for it? And now does Bagnaia got the head for it? Anyway, we move on to the race, because we're pretty much talking about it anyway. We're pretty much talking about the race anyway. Let's get into the race, the main race. And like we've already said it a few times, Bagnaia, we've mentioned it before, because we kept saying about how dominant Ducati is and how smooth Bagnaia can be, and I've said that it remains to be seen whether he can stay on the bike, whether he's got what it takes. Because once again, I'll say it, last year, did Bagnaia, well, obviously he won the championship, but did he win the championship from being the better rider? Obviously, but or was it because Quartararo, who we know he's got history of like mentally falling to pieces, did Quartararo just kind of let it slip through his fingers? Which ultimately is a big blow for Yamaha, looking where they're at now.
But I don't know. I watch Bagnaia when he's riding, and he's a really good rider. He's a phenomenal rider. But like, I mean, that Ducati is unreal on power. When he was him and Alex Rins were coming up to the straight, like that Ducati was just, it was just leaving him. It was gone. You could just see the power difference. It was amazing. But like you say, maybe I don't think it's just got into his head. I just think it's like you say, when you're pushing it, sometimes you do just slip out of it.
Yeah, but last week in Argentina, I say last week, but the last round in Argentina, I know the conditions were a bit iffy, but everybody was racing in them conditions. Last round in Argentina, he was second. He was easy second. He wasn't pushing for the lead. He wasn't charging for the lead. He didn't have anybody coming up behind him, not seriously in the way that they were putting pressure on him. He was just in second place. All he had to do was finish the race, and he came off. And this week, like, if you're thinking about the title, if you're racing smart and you're thinking about the title, and I know you want to win. Obviously, they want to win. They're racers, but if you're in a position where Alex Rins is hounding you and you think, I am trying really hard to stay in front of him, why not just let him past you? Stay behind him for a couple of laps. Let him lead. Get behind him. Let him do the leading. Watch where he's fast. Let him be the marker. And if he takes off and leaves you, well, he gets second place. Take 20 points.
There is a lot of pressure on him because obviously he's wanting to try and retain that title.
You don't say, Ash.
I know, but obviously, you know what I mean. Like,
thanks, Captain Obvious.
Oh, get to fuck, you absolute specky nerded twat.
You said the first swear word of the episode.
Yeah, I did, and I don't care because he just pisses me off. But like I said in the episode a while ago, you don't know what's going on upstairs, do you?
No, and I don't want to feel like I've said Quartararo fell to pieces. Like, it's not for me to say. Like, obviously, sports psychology is a massive thing at the minute. There's obviously a lot more involved in it. It's high pressure. But like, I hear about footballers and stuff who get sports psychology, and fair enough if you need it. But there's a hell of a difference between standing playing football than there is going at 315 kilometres an hour in a motorbike.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope
football fans will want to email in and be like, actually, football's this, football's that. No, fair enough, whatever. But you know what I mean. Going at that speed, Jesus, there's a lot of pressure. It's not just, will I win the race? It's like, am I going to come off and injuries aside, because injuries can happen. If they come off and the bike goes twirling around and you're thinking, oh, there's a few £100,000 just gone into the sandpit. But
it's just racing. Sometimes in racing, if you just take that line a little bit wrong, it just goes. And unfortunately, that's what's happened to him this weekend.
I think his head's going to go more and more.
But it's 2 weekends in a row now, and
I think he'll bounce back. I do.
I don't. I think it's going to go to his head, and it's going to get worse and worse. It's just going to fall apart.
I think he's saving grace if there's any, because I agree with Chippy. I think he might struggle to bounce back from this. But I think he's saving grace at the minute, as Bezzecchi doesn't seem to be very consistent at the top, because he's on a satellite bike for a start, but he doesn't seem to be too consistent at the top. So at the minute, that might be saving grace, because, for example, let's say Marc Marquez was there, and Marquez was his title rival, and if Bagnaia wasn't winning it, Marquez was winning it. Chances are Marquez would be like, you'd have won 2 races. You know what I'm getting at here. The point is that there's no one consistent rider who is taking it to him and streaming away from him.
And he hasn't got the pressure of his teammate Bastianini either at the minute. So,
but he can't rely on that for too long. So
no.
But I read in one of the articles that I don't know if he's blaming the bike, but he's suggesting that there's a problem with the bike.
So now I read something that said he was saying the bike's too good or something.
Or the bike's, well, I think they headlined it as, how can a bike be too good? But I think, is he maybe trying to say that the bike's got too much power?
Could you imagine Marco Bezzecchi on the full factory Ducati? That'd be class.
You say that, but you don't know. Like last year, we were saying imagine Bastianini.
Yeah,
we've not really the chance to see him, to be honest.
No. Because
Luca Marini took him out.
There was, like I said before, though, there was a hell of a lot of crashing. Like, it's got to be obviously I know they're all pushing, but it's got to be something to do with the track as well. It's got to be.
Well, that was the lowest amount of finishes since Assen in 2016, apparently, and that was a wet race.
It was unbelievable. Every other like sort of couple of minutes, it was like, oh right, okay, Nakagami's crashed out. Oh, Brad Binder's gone. I think Brad Binder rejoined though. I think he jumped back on.
Yeah, he did. I think
because he had a bit of a wobble when he went off the track. He came off, and then I thought, oh, that's him done. And then it literally, because I messaged Sam, I was like, oh, Brad Binder's just done a wobble, and then I was like, oh, he's just come off. Yeah, there was a hell of a lot of crashing, but nevertheless, I still enjoyed it. Don't think anyone was massively hurt, so.
No, there was a lot of crashes.
He went.
There was a lot of crashes. They talked a lot about how bumpy the surface is, and it's something. I'm not an engineer, but I've heard it's something to do with the soft clay that it was. Apparently, the track was originally built on like a soft clay. You know the sort of soft clay you get in sort of hot climates.
Right.
It's not really like soil, like we would, you know the way we know soil.
Yeah,
this is soil, and then you get like a putty sort of clay, like orange clay. That sort of ground that was built on it, and then I think because that's soft, over time as pressure and weight is put onto the track, it slowly sinks a little bit, and then bumps are created, and then that's where the bump in the asphalt.
Because you can see them when they're coming down that back straight. You can see them. The bikes are like,
yeah,
proper going for it, aren't they?
Must be a lot of chatter on it as well.
Still a great track though.
Because you're almost like standing up in the back of it. Like they're not even sitting in the seat when they're going down the back street.
Straddling it like a jockey.
Yeah, they are. Like they're trying to absorb. They're trying to use their legs as like an extra suspension and absorb the bumps and as they go down. But yeah, there was a lot of crashes. There was a lot of people end up crashing out. We said again about Alex Marquez crashing out of the sprint race because he threw up, and then him and Jorge Martin did Jorge Martin take him out?
Yeah, he came around the corner and wiped him out, and I was like, for fuck's sake, because obviously
Ducati had a bit. Go ahead.
Jorge Martin, like you say, he was on fire all weekend. I mean, he still holds the fastest lap around that track, doesn't he? The record,
probably.
And he was doing really well, and then couldn't believe it when he came off and wiped out Alex Marquez. It's a real shame because I thought he would have definitely been good to watch, but
I think Ducati had a lot of bikes come off at the end of it. I know they've got more bikes on the grid, so chances are they're going to have the more come off. But they had a lot come off. You go through the people that finished or the people that come off. You get Martin, Alex Marquez, Bagnaia. Yeah, 3 Ducatis fell off.
Both Ducatis. Oh no, Brad Binder rejoined, didn't he? But he did crash. So yeah, both Ducatis went down. KTM's even.
The Aprilia's Vinales, he was quite far back actually in the race, but he managed to sort of work his way up the field a bit. I don't know whether that was because when I was watching it, obviously people crashing out and he was just making up places, but I seen him down like quite low, and then he moved up quite a bit. Are you alright there, Sam? You look like you've had a little spasm.
I was wondering if you noticed that.
Do you ever get it when you're wearing earphones that just the vibration of the earphone makes your ear tickle and you kind of need to get in and scratch it?
That's why I wear over ear ones, and then that's about.
Yeah.
No, never happened.
I get it with over ear ones as well. Sometimes I just need to give my ear a good scratch. There's nothing like a good scratch. You know when you get your little finger in there and you proper ream it out and you're back and forward and you can hear it going in your ear. Oh, I love it. Scratching your nuts and scratching your ears, two of life's little pleasures.
Anyway, the racing.
Anyway, back to the racing. I didn't realise. This is getting to the end of the race. I didn't realise Alex Rins did a shoey. I didn't realise that.
I didn't watch the celebrations. It's just I went on the MotoGP website just before we started, and I saw he was doing a shoey.
And you don't think anybody other than Australians should do it?
No, I think that's an Aussie thing. Should be Aussies only.
As kind of an Aussie thing, and Jack Miller was the first person to bring a shoey to MotoGP. But they can't claim to own shoeys.
Well, I'm glad he won.
I'm just going to check actually because I'm pretty sure there was somebody years ago that did a shoey.
Well, yeah, this.
I'm sure it was.
Can't remember. But I think in Formula One, Daniel Ricciardo or Ricciardo, whatever his name is, he does shoeys and he's Australian.
Yes.
I looked up the other day, while you're looking at that, I'll talk a little bit of nonsense. I looked up the other day about when was the first time somebody used the term the GOAT. Because the first time I heard it was with Valentino Rossi.
Yeah, same for me. That's when I first heard it with Valentino, because he is the GOAT, naturally.
Right, so if you
Apparently,
have to take...
V8 Supercars driver Dave Reynolds was the first person to do a shoey.
Where's he
Never
from?
heard of him.
Well, V8 Supercars is Australian, I think.
Yeah.
Because V8 Supercars, you got Holden, which is Vauxhall, who raced Ford. So I think they probably is Australian. So it's an Australian thing. So Alex Rins stopped doing shoeys. No, I disagree. Everybody should be allowed to do shoeys. Have you ever done a shoey?
No.
No.
I have. I've done a shoey.
Really
I
glad
don't
he
even
won.
like drinking from the same cup twice.
But anyway, who do you think, or where do you think was the first time the GOAT was ever used? It's quite obvious when you think about it.
Mark
Once you
Marquez.
hear it. No.
Valentino Rossi.
No. It's not even in motorbikes. The first time the GOAT was used.
Is it going to be something like Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo?
No.
No, even further back than that. Should I just tell you?
Go on then.
Yeah, go on.
Right, so this is according to a Google search, so sometimes Google's wrong, but according to that, 1992, Muhammad Ali's wife referred to him as the GOAT, the greatest of all time, at some awards ceremonies, and that was the first time the term the GOAT had ever been used. So Muhammad Ali, who probably is the GOAT.
Mike. I was
that for you,
going to say Mike Tyson then. Tyson Fury.
Right, anyway.
Yeah, I like Tyson Fury.
I like. Well, we can all agree for once. All three of us agree. We all like Tyson Fury. There you go.
Yeah. Wow, something we all agree on. Jesus.
Joe, I know this is going off topic, but Joe Joyce got his face smashed in the other day. Did you see the highlights?
No.
I only heard about him for the first time this week.
He was just a human punching bag. I've watched him for a bit because I like watching the Olympics, and he was in the Olympics. So, and then I kind of watched a few of his fights, but yeah, he seemed outclassed in that. Hopefully, he can bounce back from it because I like British boxers, obviously. Right, getting back into the race. Alex Rins did a shoey, and I was thinking about who do you think the big winners and the big losers are from the MotoGP?
LCR Honda and Rins. It's got to be.
Yes, massive winners. Lucio Cecchinello. I like Lucio Cecchinello because he gave Car Crutchlow a chance. And I like Car Crutchlow. I thought I did really enjoy Car Crutchlow being in the grid. And him and Car Crutchlow seemed to bounce off each other. And that's whenever I first really started paying attention to LCR Honda. And every time he's interviewed, he always just seems so down to earth. I think if I had to work for anybody in the paddock, I would like to work for Lucio Cecchinello. He just seems pretty cool. So I'm glad.
They're the same now, weren't they, on the commentary about how much of a really nice guy he is.
Yeah, Neil Hodgins is always bigging him up about how much he's got time for him. And yeah, so I'm glad. It took 5 years for him to win another race. I'm glad they've won one. Alex Rins, I'll be honest, Alex Rins has enough pedigree that he could win a couple of races this year. If you get on a Honda track, for example.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, so we'll keep on with the big winners. Yeah, so Lucio Cecchinello. Quartararo, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to get a podium, especially with all the shit that has been happening with that Yamaha, that's really, really... And do you know what? I hope that's given him a bit of a boost as well, but he still didn't seem too happy about it.
No, he doesn't seem too happy. He doesn't want to come third. He wants to win races.
Yeah.
And he only really come third because Bagnaia crashed out.
Crashed.
He did drop back to fourth at one point though, but he brought it back.
But that's another thing about Alex Rins. I don't think you can say the only reason Alex Rins won the race was because Bagnaia fell off. I know there's maybe a bit of that, but ultimately I think Rins was taking it to Bagnaia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes, especially when it's a race of attrition, as they kept calling it, sometimes in that you're sitting in third or fourth, and then first, second, and third maybe take each other off, or one has a mechanical, or one goes wide, and then you end up winning the race, and it's like, oh, but what if? But Alex Rins, in his own right, was racing for the win when Bagnaia came off. Ultimately, or not ultimately, arguably, maybe even forced him to crash. So I think Alex Rins fully deserves all the credit of that race win. Quartararo coming third, not just because he got a podium, and it's good for Yamaha, but I think it reasserted his dominance as the number one rider. I know you two were saying last week there was no question he's the number one rider. I know that. But if Morbidelli would have come out this weekend and would have beat him again, there would have been doubts. There would have been.
Yeah.
Because, maybe people might have been thinking, is Quartararo, getting a hump with Yamaha? Is his head gone with Yamaha? Right. So, who do you think the losers were? The biggest losers?
I kind of, even though he did so well in the sprint race, I think Jorge Martin and Alex Marquez.
What?
Alex Marquez fell off in both races, so...
Yeah. I think Jorge Martin and Alex Marquez, but to say, again, this is my opinion. Feel free to jump in and tell me to shut up. To say they're the biggest losers, Martin, for example, I'm not going to say he doesn't have anything to lose, but he's not expected to do a lot.
No.
You got the pecking order of the Ducatis. You've got Bagnaia, Bastianini, even though he's not here at the minute, and then because of how well Bezzecchi and Marini's doing, you get Bezzecchi and Marini, then you get Alex Marquez, and then down there you've got Jorge Martin. So if Jorge Martin has a good weekend, big win. But if he doesn't have such a good weekend, is it such a big loss for him? But I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. He was at the start of the weekend. It looked like he was going to be, belly big bollocks.
Yeah, I thought he was going to smash all of it.
Like ball bag, like kettlebells, like run around, look at me. But ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a shame because I do like Jorge Martin. I like to see him do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex Marquez though, both races crashed out. Obviously, I know the second race it wasn't his fault, but unfortunately, I think he was one of the biggest losers.
First race wasn't really his fault either. If he's going to be sick in his helmet, he can't help that. I put down for my biggest losers was Bagnaia, obviously, massive loser. I'm not saying massive loser, but
Bagnaia, you suck. No, we don't mean that.
Yeah, we don't mean that, but
because he's an avid listener.
Yeah, I've put Jack Miller down as well because he crashed 6 times at the weekend. He's obviously got problems with the bike, and I think if he had stayed on the bike, because we now know that the KTM's a decent bike. It's maybe not championship winning at the minute because it still remains to be seen if it's going to go well on all the tracks. But it's a decent bike. Yeah. So if he would have had Sid's feeling that he doesn't have, if he would have had that, he could have got a podium this week. So
yeah, I reckon he could have been up there.
Now another loser I've put down. Well, this is just my opinion. I'm not sure what you make of it. I know one of you has added to it, probably Chippy, because I don't think you've had it much. So another loser for me is Honda. I think Honda come out of this, not LCR Honda obviously, but I think Honda as a whole come out of this weekend looking rather embarrassed. There was only one Honda finished, and we've already alluded to Alex Rins being very good round Circuit of the Americas. If you take that away and put it into another track, Alex Rins might not perform, and they're only going to have one Honda finish. So, and the first Honda to win a race this year is a satellite bike. So I think Honda must be. I know they won a race before Yamaha, but a part of them must be thinking, especially the factory team, the Repsol team, must be like you said, Chippy. I bet they're wishing they went with Alex Rins now rather than Johan Mir. But and who have you put down as the big losers? You just said both KTMs have crashed.
Yes. Well, something else I read earlier was both Aleix Espargaro and Ralph Fernandez crashes were caused by malfunctioning ride height devices, and they're both on Aprilias, so I wouldn't say they had a great weekend.
No. No, you're right about that.
I think they'd have hoped for a lot more.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps up MotoGP.
I think it does. Are we moving on to Moto 2?
Yeah. Yeah, let's move on to Moto 2.
So let's. Shall we announce the elephant in the room on Moto 2?
Well, we'll start with qualifying first. We've got
okay.
Do I just does somebody else want to read it out or talk about it, or
Ash is the elephant in the room.
Because I realise I do talk quite a lot.
I'll be honest, I only caught half of the qualifying.
Professional as always.
Sorry.
Right, so the only thing I really had to note for qualifying that I think we're really interested in is Sam Lowes crashed out in qualifying. He didn't even get a lap in. He got through to Q2. And then he crashed. Or did he crash, or did his bike malfunction? I think he crashed.
He crashed, but it was like pretty much as soon as he got on the track, wasn't it?
Yeah, he crashed out.
Yeah, he didn't even get a lap in. He just binned it. Because then next thing,
he didn't even get a banker lap in. He was on his out lap, and obviously that starts from the pit lane, and then he crashed and didn't get a lap in and had to start from 12th place.
And this is why I didn't catch all of the qualifying, because then you messaged me, because we seen obviously Sam Lowes was there with a microphone and with a BT Sports shirt on, and we were like, did we miss something?
That was Alex Lowes, you numpty.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
that was Alex Lowes, you dumbass.
I genuinely thought it was. They look so pretty similar.
Well, they're identical.
And what did I say on the first ever podcast? What did I say on the first podcast?
Mate,
I get them two mixed up all the time.
But how can you get one of them's racing?
Yes, I get that.
Talking. I know he's fast, but he's not that fast. He can't get back.
I obviously missed some of the qualifying. I missed some of the qualifying. I thought, well, because he's binned it, they must have just given him a microphone. How fucking hot these lot.
You are an idiot.
Well, I said it in the first podcast. I get them mixed up all the time.
But he had been there in FP2 and FP3. He'd been there all weekend.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't catch all of it, did I? Fucking hell.
He crashed and then they had a microphone. Did you not even stop to think, oh, hold on, he's got a twin brother, maybe it's Alex? Or any time whenever Susie Perry said, so Alex, what do you think? You thought, oh, it's Lowes, isn't it?
Okay, I had it on in the background.
That's funny.
Oh
well. Just now that we've brought that up, I honestly think Alex Lowes done an absolutely fantastic job with a microphone. I think
he was really good actually.
I think he suits that.
He did.
And it's obviously I'm not saying they should stop racing bikes, but it's obviously an avenue to make some money when they're finished racing bikes. I imagine it's you put that on there, Chap. I'm gonna throw you under the bus, Chap. You put that in here.
Yes.
So do you want to say it? Go on, because I'll get stuck if I say it. So you say it.
Well, the thing is, because Tony Arbolino's doing so well this year, he's going to be a title challenger, and it's just showing Sam Lowes up. I can't see Sam Lowes being in the paddock next year, and I don't think he'll even be in like World Supersport, World Superbikes. I think he's either going to have to go back to British Superbikes or just retire. Possibly.
You don't think he would go to World Superbikes?
No, I can't see it.
I have to agree with Chippy on this one.
The only thing, not the only thing, but one of the reasons I think Sam Lowes is going to struggle justifying his ride or whatever is the fact that we do. Well, I think Sam Lowes has or maybe did have potential, and he's a good rider. And at one stage, maybe we're going back a few years, and I'm kind of wishing them days would come back. But at one stage, he looked like a title contender. And yeah, the fact that Tony Arbolino not could be a title challenger, he is a title challenger.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's up the front week in, week out, I know it's only been 3 weeks, but week in, week out is kind of showing him up a little bit. But I don't know if he go right back to British Superbikes.
I think he'd retire.
I think he'd be more likely to retire than go to British Superbike.
Yeah, I don't think he'd go that far back, surely not.
I tweeted this once to them, but I'm not sure if Alex and Sam want to race in the same championship. I'm not sure about that. But I was on their Twitter page, this was years ago, and I just asked the question, if you were in the same championship, who would use the number 22? They didn't answer it, they just liked the tweet, but just getting a like, just getting my tweet liked with the Lowe's brothers, I was like, "Whoa, look at me, they like my tweet. I'm a famous guy, they like my tweet." I was running up and down the road, "They like my tweet, they like my tweet." Did you say they liked my tweet?
I felt like
they
that
liked
when Mark Hamill liked my tweet.
Here we go, folks. It's Star Wars time.
Neil Hodgson liked a meme that I made. I was quite proud of that. I like memes.
Neil Hodgins obviously likes memes as well.
Yes.
Right, so let's get on to the race. Right, Ash, you can address said elephant on your
Okay, so no, because I was absolutely gutted for him. I don't know what the hell happened. So obviously, anybody that didn't watch on the warm up lap, it was the warm up lap. It wasn't the sight lap. It was warm up lap. Jake Dixon went out. Everyone went out, and all of a sudden, he high sided the bike, didn't he? He just had a wobble at the back, and he just came off. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? Even he sort of stood up and kind of just put his arms in the air, like, what just happened? And he even said in the interview after, like, he was just like, well, I wasn't doing anything that I wouldn't normally do. So it'd be interesting to see, like, when he got back and looked at the bike data to see if there was a problem with the bike. I know they were saying that there was a lot of crosswinds that were sort of picking up during the day. So maybe he's just gone around that corner, a gust of wind hit him and it's just sent him off. I was obviously absolutely gutted for him because I reckon he would have definitely been a contender for a podium this weekend because he was doing really well around COTA.
I felt really bad for him because we all make stupid mistakes at work. I know our work and our jobs are completely different from his, but we all make stupid mistakes at work. Sometimes as the equipment, sometimes you just have to hold your hand up and say, it was me. But when you make that, or whenever something stupid, something naughty happens like that, and you just want the ground to open you up and swallow you, don't you? You just feel, it's really embarrassing whenever something like that happens. And even when they interviewed him, he said, "I'm not stupid. I know how to ride a bike." It's like, Jack, we know how to ride a bike, mate. You've had podiums in Moto2, so obviously you know how to ride a bike. What happened, I don't know. I'm reluctant to say too much because he must feel like shit. And
he must have, like I say, that's why he's trying to justify himself because he was just so embarrassed by it.
It's hard to talk about it without making it sound like you're trying to put the knife in, but shitty stuff happens sometimes. There's two instances I think where it must be really embarrassing to crash. One is the warming up sighting lap. It must be kind of embarrassing to crash, and the other one would be once the race is over and you're doing a
Joel Kelsey.
Yeah, well,
should have been looking where it was going.
But I mean, the other whenever you do it at the end of the race is over. You've got your points. Yes, I'm sure your team's going, Jesus, we just threw a lot of money up the road when we didn't need to. But ultimately, one's embarrassing, but you can share a few cans after and laugh about it. One's embarrassing, where you just want to hold your head in your hands and just forget the weekend ever happened. So yeah, I feel for him, because like you said, he could have done well. Could have done well around COTA.
I
Anyway,
reckon he would have been on the podium for sure.
I think he could have won that. I honestly, because he goes well around there, I genuinely think he could have won that.
I doubt very much Jack Dixon listens to our podcast, but if you do, mate, we hope you bounce back and bring it in Jerez.
He did go on Twitter and he was looking, I think BT Sport put something on a tweet, and there's loads of people on there slagging him off, and he was reading the comments and he just put the bird to everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
I know earlier on in the
middle finger.
podcast I said that if I was on a MotoGP bike, I probably wouldn't get round the warm-up lap. That was a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, but I wouldn't get round the warm-up lap.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get out of the fucking pit lane on a MotoGP bike.
I was thinking, I was watching a warm-up lap and I was thinking, if I was on one of them bikes, would I be able to keep up with them guys on their
No,
warm-up
absolutely
lap?
not.
They'd
Absolutely
still
not.
probably smoke me.
Yeah, it was like...
Yeah.
It's like when I listened to that interview with Alex Lowes, and like he's a bloody good motorbike rider, and he said his first time in a MotoGP bike, because he got a ride in a MotoGP bike, he didn't even know how to put it in gear. He didn't know what he was doing, and I kind of took some refuge in that. I was like, oh, I'm not so bad that I don't know how to ride my 125. But a slightly different topic. I watch a lot of. I like doing a lot of running, how I keep fit, and I like to watch the Olympics. And we see the likes of Mo Farah, who, even when he's out in a training run, doing his slow training runs, trying to emulate what he does. It's just phenomenal. Like, it's like you see guys sprinting 100 meters, and you think, oh, I couldn't do that. And then you see like the likes of Mo Farah and Paula Radcliffe out running, and you think that's more achievable. Them guys are absolutely killing it. They might not be sprinting, but they're absolutely killing it. So in that same scenario, I can imagine even in a warm-up lap, they're going around there at some speed.
Because they're probably doing 150 at least down that back straight. I'd be too scared to get over 100 probably.
That's why we're not Moto2.
Yeah, so that's why we're sat behind a computer doing a podcast. And
that's why we're pretending to know what we talk about rather than knowing what we talk about. Right, on to the race now. We've got that passed. Best of luck in the future.
Yeah. So I was really enjoying watching the battle between Arbolino and Pedro Acosta. It was really good.
Yeah, you sent me a message saying that race was really good, and I was like,
I really enjoyed. But you said obviously if Pedro Acosta hadn't shifted it into neutral by accident, it wouldn't have been as exciting. Pedro would have.
Pedro Acosta was up the road. I wouldn't say he was up the road and gone, but he was showing likelihoods of it. He hit the neutral, he went back a few bike lengths, and he managed to catch up again. And I don't know if his tyres went a bit. Yeah, it did make it interesting. But the point I was trying to make is, excuse me, the point I'm trying to make is, whenever two riders are hitting perfect lines, and one's finding whatever little gap there is, and they're not pushing each other out of the way, but they're forcing each other to sit up and look, and they're making moves, and it just becomes really exciting. The race between Arbolino and Acosta was like, I'm just going to sit here and wait for him to make a mistake because he's going to make a mistake, and they ultimately just kept making mistakes, and then the other one, took advantage of it. So yes, it was exciting. Don't get me wrong, but
I enjoyed watching the scrap.
I think it was a good race, but for racing, there wasn't incidents and drama.
Yeah,
it was Some races you get the drama, some races you get good racing, some races you get both.
It was a very good race. It was a really good race, and I did really enjoy it. But I think a problem is that when it comes to Arbolino and Acosta, I don't really care who wins. I want to see it. I want to see a good race. You know what I mean? And I did see a good race. But sometimes if you have a sort of personally invested liking to a rider, it kind of makes it more exciting.
I do like to see Pedro Acosta do well, though. So
I think it's because we think he's going to be the next big thing. You kind of want him to see him win the championships, don't you? You want to see him dominate
in style.
Yeah,
I want to see him in MotoGP on a KTM. That's what I want to see.
Not on KTM.
Yeah,
no.
I think he should. I think he should stay loyal to KTM and go
He probably has to with his contract. I don't know.
5-year contract, isn't it?
Something stupid. Fair play to KTM for doing that.
I tell you what, the KTMs have come on leaps and bounds. You put him on a KTM bike, I reckon he'd shock a lot of people.
Certainly not the worst bike on the grid, is it?
Repsol Honda, but there you go.
Moving on.
I tell you what was interesting, but also a real shame was I was listening to the commentary and they were saying that the Triumphs, the Moto2 bikes, are having a lot of electronical problems, and quite a few people retired from that race due to the electrical faults. So that's something but it's only certain teams it's happening to though.
It's weird, isn't it? Because they're usually a solid bike, aren't they? Like they're so reliable, so perfect every race. It's weird when you hear any criticism about them.
It's I hope they get it sorted because it must be really frustrating, especially if you, well, not even if you were up there, obviously contending for like a oh my god, sorry, I was mid sentence there, but Sam just showed me the results from the Leeds-Liverpool game.
It's not a result yet. There's still 15 minutes left.
Sam supports Liverpool and I support Leeds, so obviously you can imagine who's
Liverpool
winning.
5-1. And trust me, if Liverpool's beating you this year, then you're really bad. Anyway, back to the bikes.
Yeah, back to the bikes. So yeah, hopefully they get that sorted out because the electronics are just randomly switching the bikes off completely, and they're not able to get going again.
Has that been happening all year, or is that something you read with just Austin?
It's just what I heard. Obviously, it's just at Austin, but it's obviously not every bike. It's not happening to every bike.
Maybe the bumps is just shaking the shit out
Could
of the
be.
bike so bad.
Yeah, genuinely could be on that back straight.
I just want to quickly go back to MotoGP for a sec. Do you remember seeing there was an onboard with Quartararo? How fast he was going from 6th back to 1st, and the bike was just screaming.
Yeah.
I was like, oh god, it's going to explode in a minute. Like
you'll know this better than us, Ash. They can quick shift without a clutch down gears, can they? Or they can just hold the clutch in. They don't have to let the clutch out every time. They can just hold it in and quick shift the whole way down.
They can just blip up and down with a quick shifter. They don't need to. They don't need to pull the clutch in.
Because that's what happened to Johnny Ray that time, where he had to basically do it like a...
The water got into his quick shifter CPU, and that's why he had to start using the clutch.
And you know who, I know we're going on a tangent here, but you know who I always enjoyed watching doing that? Sam Lowes. He was incredible at that. He used to just kick it down in the back.
Yeah, well, as we know, I haven't got a fucking clue who Sam or Alex Lowes is. So.
Yeah.
Let's get off the subject of the Lowes brothers, because I'll just make myself look like a dickhead.
Sam Lowes is so good, he can race and commentate at the same weekend.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I broke your toy.
So the only other thing to mention, I think you put this down here, Chippy. Do I go for it? The Rory Skinner one?
The battle for 3rd?
Oh, do you want to mention that? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to mention the battle for 3rd. Apparently it was really good, but we didn't really get to see it because of what was happening with Acosta and Arbolino. But yeah, that looks a good battle because there's like 4 bikes in that battle for 3rd. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of it.
It's kind of justifiable when there is a race going on at front. You know what annoys me? When the best race and when the best fight in the race is like, it could be 3rd or 4th, or it's usually 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and the winner's about 10 seconds up the road, Alvaro Bautista or something, and then it cuts to the winner and it shows you come over the grid, and then it shows his pit crew and they're like, oh my god, and you're like, just show us the bloody race. But yeah, it's kind of justifiable when Acosta and Arbolino are racing each other. Yeah, and you put a bit in there about Rory Skinner as well.
Yeah, he had a good weekend, and he's feeling more comfortable on the bike, settling in. So hopefully he'll start soon pushing his way up the grid a bit. Would be nice to see.
Got to be good for something. No, it's good to see. Good to see Rory Skinner doing well though.
Where did Roar
Yeah.
Scanners finish?
I think it was still like 18th or something like that.
Oh
was out
yeah,
of
he
the
was
points,
right.
but he was.
He was 8 seconds behind Sean Dillon Kelly, who's his teammate, I think. Yeah, Sean Dillon Kelly's his teammate, isn't he? He's 8 seconds
Yeah.
behind him. But yeah,
He's getting there. He's back in Scotland this week, apparently. So
considering we were in America, you don't expect. Well, there's not really much expectations on the Americans, but you get Joe Roberts finished 16th, Sean Dillon Kelly finished 18th. So
yeah, we need an American, a good American.
no wild cards in the MotoGP, was there? I can't think of any. No, there wasn't.
No.
Well, hopefully this new NBA dude at Dorna you mentioned the other week, this guy that's doing
Yes.
what is it he's doing, like advertising or something like that, or
Yeah, some commercial stuff.
Commercial stuff. Yeah, hopefully his presence can draw in a little bit of American, I don't know,
Interest.
Here's
Get some
something
riders.
Here's something we never mentioned on the doc, but I've seen it mentioned a few times on Twitter, and they talked about it during the show. Circuits of the Americas are very reluctant to ever say how many people's come to the race.
Yeah, I saw that. And I don't really understand why.
Last year they used the excuse that they had the Moto America there at the same weekend as they had the MotoGP, or leading up to the
Right.
MotoGP. So they made the excuse that they were reluctant to release figures because is it because of the Moto America or is it because of the MotoGP? But that's another year where they've not done it. It seems a bit strange that they wouldn't do that. Why are they not doing that?
Yeah, I really don't understand it.
Like, are they? I don't know.
It's
Like,
not
obviously it's
we're not really that bothered, surely.
No,
really
you're
that?
not going to be like, oh, did that amount of people go? Maybe there are people that are bothered though. There's maybe investors who are bothered.
It might be that, yes.
But sure, they can watch it on TV and be like, well, we can see there's maybe not a lot of people there, or we can see there's a lot of people. Do you think are they letting people in and then taking the money and not telling them? There was only 2 people turned up. yeah, okay. No, well, who knows? Who knows what they're doing? It just seemed a bit strange, though. Don't really have an answer for it. I just thought we'd bring it up. I just thought I'd mention it. Right, Moto 3. Do you want to move on to that?
Yes.
I'll be honest. I never watched Moto 3 because it was one of them funny times, and I was sitting down to eat my dinner, and I was tempted to have my phone on, but then I thought it doesn't really pay my wife and my 2 daughters a lot of respect if I'm sitting there watching motorbikes whilst I'm eating my dinner. And the plan was, I'll be honest, I'll just watch it because I can watch it back. And then life got in the way. You know, the sofa screamed. Oh, very, very.
I got one of them earlier, so I was just giving one back. I was a bit annoyed because obviously we did our predictions of who we thought we were going to win in each race, and I picked Sasaki. He was in first place and binned it.
Yeah.
Gutted.
I did.
Proper gutted. Because I'm pretty sure I sent Sam a message saying, "Oh well, there goes my freaking prediction."
I can't remember.
Well, I'll tell a lie. I seen the start of the race. I seen it starting and taking off, and then I seen the last lap and a half. So I seen the important bits, but I didn't see all the exciting bit in between. So when you said Suzuki came off, I didn't see it. I didn't know who was doing what.
Did you see Josh Watley crashed on the warm-up lap? I don't know what it is with Brits that can't do warm-up laps this weekend.
But he got back on again.
No, retired. Went straight to the pit.
Oh, Jesus.
He got on the bike, but yeah, just drove straight into the pit. And
Do you think does Jack Dixon and Josh Watley have their own little park Furby to go into? Wah, wah, wah. Well, yeah, all joking aside, well, I say all joking aside, I'm going to make a joke. They can drown their sorrows together, eh? They can sit and drink some bourbon and laugh at their sorrows together.
yeah,
That, you know, when you do something, back to doing something stupid at work. When you do something stupid at work, it's not as bad whenever somebody else does something equally as stupid. And you got somebody else there to help soften the blow. But Yeah, but it was a bit of a strange that happened twice. Like that usually never happens. That happened twice in the weekend. That's strange. It's very strange. Do you think there's any sort of Texas snipers out there being, "Oh, we'll take out these Brits. The British are coming. The British are coming."
Yes. But yeah, it wasn't a very good weekend for the Brits, really. I mean, Scott Ogden finished 14th.
Yeah.
But the Spanish John McPhee. Yeah. The Spanish John McPhee, he got a podium.
Juan McPhee.
Good to see. Juan McPhee.
So it wasn't very exciting.
Ivan Ortola. Is it Ivan or Ethan? I can't remember. Ivan Ortola, he got his first win. And Anna Krasko finished last. My bet is still safe.
And saying that, I'm going to be honest, 21st, it's not that far away.
Yeah, I know.
However, if there was ever a race, like they call it the race of attrition, if there was ever a race where a lot of people was going to fall off, you would think, after this weekend, you'd think COTA was going to be that race. So
yeah,
but Anna would probably be one of the ones that fall off as well.
No,
she doesn't fall off. I think she only came off like once last year because she doesn't push the bike anywhere near hard enough, or herself.
Chippy doing his little bit.
I'm not being sexist. I'm just saying that she's.
You said that, not me.
I'm just saying she doesn't push herself or the bike to the limit, so she's never going to come off. Maybe once in a blue moon.
Well, we did say consistency's key. I would do a dance if she got a point. I'd be so happy.
I wouldn't.
The thing is, whenever I first noticed Anna Carrasco, is it Carrasco or Carrasco?
Carrasco.
Whenever I first noticed Anna Carrasco, being that I've got two daughters, every time she came on screen, I was like bringing my daughters over and I was like, look, there's a girl who is racing in a world championship. You know, I was kind of saying to them, like, this is what you could do. You could do this if you wanted to. Obviously, they don't want to, and I can't afford to. So they can't. You know what I mean? You know, I was just highlighting to my girls. I was like, look, it's possible for you to do these things, and that's what it's all about, is it not? It's about going out there and representing.
It's not about taking part.
It's not the winning; it's taking part that counts.
No, it's not. It's the winning.
Ooh, win!
Yeah, but somebody has to come last. Somebody has to be down there. If everybody felt like that, and there was only two bikes went in the grid, it wouldn't be very exciting, would it? Especially if Sasaki and Onchu's going to throw it up the road week in and week out. Just go out and crash and that'll be it. Right, so that's the end of Moto3. I was going to say MotoGP. The end of Moto3. So, will we go on to the World Superbikes?
Yes, I am really looking forward to Assen. It's a brilliant track, and obviously it's going to be great to watch the World Supers. I don't know why, I'm really feeling the World Supers a bit more than MotoGP this year.
Nah, Bartos is just going to run away with it.
I don't know. Assen is a Johnny Ray track. Johnny Ray's won round there 16, possibly 17 times if you count the sprint races. I think he holds the record for the most wins in any track, and I think this is the one. This is Johnny Ray as Alex Rins in Assen. Johnny Ray is Alex Rins and Marc Marquez combined. Marc Rins, Alex Marquez. Annoy.
Yeah.
And he won round Assen in the Honda as well. He must have to have won it 16 times. And that's no mean feat to win a race in the Honda. So this is his track. So if there's a track where he can pull it off, regardless of whether his bike's fast enough or not, this is the track where he can do it. This is the track where he can bring it. I watched back last year's. Did you watch last year's? Did you watch any highlights from last year? Or cool.
I didn't watch any highlights from last year.
So Ray won race 1 and he won the sprint race. And let's be honest, Batista ran away with it last year, didn't he? But Ray won race 1 and he won the sprint race. And he would have challenged for race 2, but him and Toprak took each other out on lap 6 of race 2. Actually, going back to last year, it looked like Toprak and Ray both, because it wasn't until like towards the end of race 1 that Batista managed to get past Toprak. Like, don't get me wrong, by no stretch of the imagination did Ray run away with it last year. He was battling the whole time, but this is his track. This is a Johnny Ray track.
Well, let's hope so.
Johnny Ray is, where's he at in the championship? He's like sixth in the championship. He's only got 43 points to Batista's 112.
Jesus.
This is the World Superbikes. Batista's got 112 points. Next is Razgatlioglu with 75 points. Andrea Locatelli, who's hot on his heels with 70 points. Then you get Axel Bassani. You don't expect that. He's in 4th with 51 points. Michael Ruben Rinaldi with 47 points. And then Johnny Ray with 44. So
I really hope...
6-1 to Liverpool there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's 11 shots in a row now that he's not saved.
Yeah, 6th in the championship. So this needs to be his track.
Yeah, well,
but
I'm sure he's going to do really well, and obviously we all here want him to win. But we'll see. We'll see. But I'm really excited for the World Super. I really hope that fucking Tom Sykes' bike is working. Pichetti, because Kawasaki has sorted it out.
Probably is.
I really hope he doesn't retire like he did last time, kept retiring.
What I was thinking about the World Superbikes is, and I know this might be clutching at straws, but given that Toprak has recently had a ride on the MotoGP and felt the power of a MotoGP and realised how fast that can go, and then maybe went on to the World Superbikes and thought, this is actually a little bit productive. You know, it's more a bit of a production bike compared to the MotoGP. Do you think that'll give him any confidence? Do you think will he sit on that bike now and be like, I can go faster than this, and then be able to push the Yamaha even faster? Do you think will he have taken anything from that test, or will it might have put the wind beneath his sails or behind his sails, and he might step onto that bike and go, I am going to show the Yamaha bosses that I deserve a ride in that MotoGP bike?
Or it could go badly for him. He'll now push it too hard and bin it. It could go anywhere really, but I'd like to see him do well regardless, because I like Toprak.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of combining the World Superbikes to the MotoGPs. Have you noticed now that MotoGP, every time it comes to the end of a race, they're all trying to pull endos? I think Dorna's had a word with them. They said, look, we need to be more exciting. Toprak, don't be Toprak, but be like Toprak, but don't be Toprak, but be like Toprak. You know, sort of do something like that. Now they're all trying to
I've noticed that they've all started doing it, haven't they? Especially the VR46 team.
Yeah, but nobody can do it like Toprak.
No, well, wasn't he like an ex-stunt rider or something?
His dad's a stunt rider, but Valentino Rossi could do wheelies like nobody's business. He could stand up on the bike, do a wheelie, take one leg off, take a hand off, and still be like doing wheelies. It was amazing. And nobody can do what Toprak can do. Nobody can do them endos the way he can. He can get some serious airtime, man. Nobody sounds like that. Any American listening, please don't take offence. I'm just an idiot.
Yes.
I'm really hoping Lecuona does well as too. I've enjoyed watching him so far.
I was listening to the highlights today, and somebody kept calling him Lecuona, and I was like, "Why are you calling him Lecuona?"
No, it's Lecuona, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know the way it's Lecuona. Somebody was really, really emphasising the sort of k sound in the Lecuona, and I was like, "What are you doing? Just call him Lecuona."
Well, it's like in MotoGP with Jorge Martin. Some people call him Jorge, and it's like I'm pretty sure it's Jorge.
Some people call Bezecchi or Bezecchi. But the thing is, we don't know these people. We don't know what their actual name is. You know what I mean?
It's got but Jorge is a very like popular sort of Spanish name, isn't it?
It means John.
So obviously when they say Jorge,
Jorge
it makes me cringe because I'm like, I'm sure it's Jorge. Anyway,
Yes.
we know what I'm like with words and people and, you know.
But just going back to World Superbikes, I'm looking forward to seeing Brad Ray because it's his first race.
Oh yeah, it will be
That's
because
right,
he's only
that's
doing
his
the
first
European
weekend.
rounds, isn't he?
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be nice to see him, see how he gets on.
So I was listening to an interview with him, and we all know where I was listening to it. But I was listening to an interview with him, and he was saying that actually him and the team wanted to do the whole championship, but it was actually
really?
Dorna. It was actually Dorna wouldn't let them do it because they don't think they've got enough space in the championship or something.
All right.
But the team's financially the team's ready for it. I like Hayashi's all like. I like Hayashi's all like. Oh, is that right? Even though I listened to it on his favourite podcast.
All right.
Anyway, there you go. So
yes. And something else as well. Apparently today, Loris Baz has confirmed he's going to be at Assen. So surgery and rehab and that is all finished, and he's going to be back. I thought he'd be out for a lot longer than that. After that, was it a leg break or ankle break or something he got?
oh yeah, that's right.
It's when they went over his foot, wasn't it? Was it Alex Lowe's went over his foot?
Alex losing over his foot, and then Sam losing over the other one later on. Don't know what happened, Dash.
He'll be commentating after he's finished.
But I haven't heard anything about that Tyron McKenzie's Honda being homologated yet.
I hate that word.
Yeah, me too. I've just been looking on Twitter, but I can't see anything to see whether it has or it hasn't. Hopefully it has, or hopefully it will this week. And then they can be competitive, or a bit more competitive. I guess somebody's going to go with Johnny Ray to win it.
I would be surprised if Johnny Ray doesn't win at least one of the races, sprint included. Going by how well he goes around, Arsene, I'd be surprised if he doesn't win. Ultimately, I also would be surprised if Bautista doesn't win at least one of the races.
Yeah.
I think Arsene will be pretty tight because I think ultimately the Bautista on the Ducati is phenomenal and almost unstoppable. But again, Top Rack walking in there with something to prove. Maybe his time on his very short time, but anyway, his time on the MotoGP bike might have given him something, even if it's just in his head, confidence. And like I said, Johnny Ray goes well. So let's see. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be good racing. I'm looking forward to it. I'm reluctant to make a foregone conclusion of who I think's going to win, but I you know what? I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. I'm going to say Johnny Ray will win 1. Bautista's going to win 1. Top Rack's going to win 1. There you go. That's my prediction. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Johnny Ray all weekend. Boom.
Ronaldo. Bautista all weekend. He'll win all 3.
Yeah, Ducati.
So boring, aren't they, Ducati? So that's the only thing. British Superbikes is wide open. MotoGP is probably quite open, but World Supers is it's going to be Bautista.
I was watching a bit of a documentary that they put on the MotoGP pass. It's on all the time, but it's about Ducati because they won the championship last year. And it's going through since 2007, what they've went through to win the championship. And I keep looking at the likes of Jorge Lorenzo when he was on the Ducati bike, and they got he had one full season, and in the second season they got rid of him, and then they started winning races. And they said to Jorge Lorenzo, "Do you think you could have won a championship on that bike?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, hands down, could have won a championship." And then they say to the Ducati bosses, "Do you think Jorge Lorenzo could have won a championship on that bike?" And they're all very solemn about it. They're like, "Yeah, perhaps we were a little bit too hasty with Jorge Lorenzo." And it takes me back to even before Jorge Lorenzo, when you had, was it Iannone or was he on Lorenzo? But anyway, going back to that time, I think Ducati has had a championship winning bike since as far back as then, even before Jorge Lorenzo. I think it was Iannone, like the Maniac that was on it. I think Iannone was on it. I think even then Ducati had a championship winning bike. They just didn't have the right rider. So like we talk about Ducati dominance is now. Well, the Ducati dominance could have been years ago, because even whenever Batista first went into World Superbikes, he should have won that championship, and then his head went and kept crashing. So yeah, I'm back to that point that Ducati's waited a long time for their time in the sunshine. So you can't just say it's boring, but because they do deserve it. Before we go on to, are we done with World Superbikes?
Yeah, I think so.
Before we go on to your review, Ash, just quickly, I'm not going to go into detail about it, I'm just going to ask the question. Did anybody watch any of the 24-hour endurance race that was there?
No, I didn't. I wanted to watch it, but I never did.
I ultimately didn't really pay much attention to it, really, but I kept an eye on it, just because there was riders in there that you recognise. Like Gino Rio was there, Chris Walker was there. He's 51. Like, you talk about other riders that are that age. But yeah, I was wondering if
Was
any.
Gino Rio riding?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah,
Was he?
I've got some of the results up, but it doesn't really give you much info. It doesn't give you. It just tells you the bike and the team. It doesn't tell you who. I'm sure there's probably better websites to get it off. Anyway,
No, I didn't watch any of it. So.
the thing is, the weekend of the MotoGP being on and sitting down and watching 24 hours of racing. I think if it had been on its own, if the MotoGP hadn't have been on, I probably could have paid more attention to it. But like, you're not going to, somebody maybe just going to sit there and watch for 24 hours, but I'm not going to sit there and watch 24 hours. And then you turn it on for an hour, and I do actually just sit there on the background and watch bikes going round, but I have no clue who's leading. I don't know who's doing what or what's going on.
Bikes are going round.
It's just one of those situations where it's just situation. And just one of them where it's just watching bikes go round. It's good. I like it. Right. Imagine a jingle. The lights go down. Do 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 do. This is your big moment, Ash.
Oh right, is it my turn?
I am going to put shitloads on the dock, and then he puts one thing in the dock. But this one thing could be amazing. Oh, I put other stuff in the dock. I told you Marquez wasn't turning up at COTA, even though we already knew that. Chippy even put in the group chat. He's like, you don't put last week's news on the news.
I've tried to be proactive, and as usual, I just fuck things up. So, what do you want me to do?
Anyway, give us your review on, what is it again?
It's the Honda CRF300L. Oh, here we go.
Good night, everybody.
Chippy, have you not thought of questions to ask him? Like little questions to try and trip him up?
No, I haven't. I'm going to mute my microphone and go to sleep. Just wake me up when it's all done. Actually, I might play with my dog instead.
Do you want me to begin or what?
No, we just want you to forget about it.
Okay.
Of course we want you to begin.
Well, I don't know. I didn't. Obviously, Chippy's having his little bitch fit.
Chippy doesn't like that sort of stuff. Let him do it really well.
No, he hates it. So today I'm going to be talking about the Honda CRF300L, which I previously owned before I bought my Honda Blackbird. For those of you that didn't catch our first podcast, I originally bought the CRF as I had planned to do some of the Trans-European Trail with my old man and a good mate of ours. For those of you that don't know what the Trans-European Trail is, it's a network of green lanes which are all legal to ride across all of Europe, but it was never meant to be for me because things in life happen.
Wasn't Andy Hetherington by any chance, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Andy Hetherington. No, it was actually a pal of my dad's who he used to race on the MZ250s and on the Ninja 300s back in Bemsey. So basically, my dad, he got himself a CRF 250L Rally, and Andy actually got himself a BMW GS 310 and put the Rally Raid pack on it. So they're actually planning on going away this year. I think they're going to Spain, which I thought was quite, like, considering they've never done it before, to kind of just go straight all in and go to Spain. I thought that was quite ballsy of them, but hopefully they do well. And I'm gutted I'm not going with them, but unfortunately I had to sell it. But when I was in the market for buying a dual sport bike, such as a CRF, there's quite a few options I considered, because some people call them a dirt bike, and a good mate of mine, Debs McKee, we were having an argument today. He's calling it a dirt bike with a light on it, and I'm like, no, it's a dual sport, and he said, they just call it a dual sport because they're trying to get a new marketing niche. So we had a bit of a laugh about that today. But I consider it a dual sport because it can go on and off road legally, basically.
Should we edit out that guy's name, or are you happy just to throw
No, I
people's
did
names
say I'd give him a mention on the pod. So, because
All right, Debsy.
say again.
Is it Debsy?
Debs McKee.
Oh, Debs McKee. Sounds like something
Hello,
like Phoenix
Debs.
Night.
He's a good lad, is Debs.
Yes. Right, mute my mic again.
Oh, okay. So when I was obviously looking at the CRF, there was other rivals to consider. There was the Kawasaki KLX300, but they aren't available in the UK, so it was going to be a bit of a difficult time to try and even test ride one of them, or even think about getting one shipped over. There's also the BMW GS310, which I spoke about earlier with the Rally Raid pack on. That's what Andy went for. Basically just takes your GS310 and makes it off-roady. And lastly, the other thing, the other bike I was thinking about was the KTM 250 Adventure. In my opinion, KTM is king of the dirt when it comes to off-road. But obviously the CRF 300L was the more promising bike that I was looking at. I eventually settled on the CRF 300L. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with a Honda. I've said this quite a few times on the pod in the past. Their engines are bulletproof when it comes to reliability. Also, the service intervals are a lot further apart on the CRF compared to its other rivals. It also comes in the CRF 300L Rally, which is actually a bit taller than the one that I got. It's got like a bigger fuel tank, a flared front fairings, and a screen on it. So it is actually a lot better for when you're on the road as well as off road, because you've got a bit more wind protection. Your 125, Sam, has that got any sort of screen on it, or is it just a naked?
No, it's naked. No, sorry, it's on mute. Yeah, it's naked. There's no screen on it now.
Oh, right, okay. When you eventually get on a bike with a screen on it, you'll notice the difference when you're riding, because you've got a lot more protection from the wind.
Yeah, I would like a screen. I would like them things that go around your hands as well. You know, them like hand cover. I'm saying that the Oxford gloves I bought recently are very good. So.
Oh, they're just random gloves. Yeah, hand guards are really good. They protect you from the wind, and also they obviously, when you're going off road, if you were to smash into a tree or something with your handlebar, it's going to protect your knuckles. So in the end, instead of going for the Rally, I was happy to go for the 300L. Its off-road capability is fantastic on green lanes, and I also did some really challenging off-road trails as well in the short time that I had it. I managed to get on it quite a bit, get out on it. Being a 300cc was stupidly good on fuel. Handles really, really well on the roads, even with knobbly tyres. Sometimes I'd be looking down at it because it has a really good speedometer on there. And I've been looking at getting about 85 to 95 mile per gallon out of it, which is actually brilliant, obviously, when it comes to being economical. I found that being able to ride along roads and seeing a trail, and I was able to legally ride on and go and explore, was fantastic. The Honda performed in every way, and extremely comfortable, surprising for a bike like that. The only drawbacks I would say there is with the bike, the tank capacity is very small, even with the good fuel economy. It's actually only a 7.5 litre tank, so you don't you're not frequently filling up, but obviously a little bit more than you would do, say, on the Rally, which has the bigger tank. A service, the aftermarket bike company, they now make a 14-litre aftermarket tank, which you can fit on there, but everybody's finding it so hard to get hold of them because they're sold out already. The other drawbacks to the bike, the dreaded brake line, which if anyone's looking at buying one, it basically comes up from the front forks and it sits in a really awkward position. It's literally right in front of the speedometer. So when you're riding along, you're looking down at your speed and you've got this big daft wobbly bloody brake line just blocking all of the information on your speedo. But there is a seller on eBay. If you put in a brake line clip, there's a guy that's actually made a special clip on he 3D prints them. They're only I think they're about £8, and you literally put the clip onto the brake line and onto the frame, and it solves the problem. It just moves it straight.
Could you not just cable tie it?
You can cable tie it, but the only problem with that
I cable tie everything, mate.
The problem with a cable tie is if you cable tie that too tight, you're going to restrict the brake fluid going through that line. So if you then, because you could then put on your front brake and have nothing. You could. A lot of people have done that. They have cable tied it to the handlebars, but for £8 to have that clip and to not have to worry about that, I think it's a pretty easy fix.
I don't want to interrupt you too much, but are you going to give us a price for these, or maybe you don't want to let us know how much you paid, or if you're going to come to that, that's fine. It's just a question I got.
Price, so I can talk about price now. When I bought mine, I bought it brand new, and it was £5,500, so £5,500, and that was on road price, which I think is actually really reasonable for a brand new bike, especially with its ability. Its predecessor, the CRF300L, you can pick them up for they really hold the money. You can pick them up for about £3,500 to £4,000, but they just haven't got the same sort of power as the 300L. That's why I kind of went for that one. Because, like I say, my dad, he owns the CRF300L Rally, and he just said he just wish he had that little bit more power, and that's why I went for the 300. They have brought a new one out this year, which is the CRF300L Adventure. The only difference with it is it's got some handguards on it, and it's a different colour. They haven't really sort of changed anything up with it, but still, great bike.
So let me ask a question. Let's say for example you've got a few £1,000s in your account. You want to buy a motorbike. You want something that can go off road and have fun on it. You want to be able to have that bit of fun, but you can't afford to buy two bikes, so you need a bit of a commuter as well. Is it worth having the bike? Is it decent as a commuter? You've maybe already said that. If you're just doing sort of local commuting, I would say definitely. I'm not talking about going 150 miles up the road, but yeah.
No.
Yeah, just
I get what you're saying. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so comfortable, and it's an obviously sitting upright bike, so you're comfortable on the bike. I actually did a really good road test on it. So I met up with my dad and a load of his mates in Crieff in Scotland, and we did some of the what's called the Cloverleaf Trail, and they were all on the the big GS 1200s and Triumph Tigers, and I was there with my little 300, and I kept up with all of them and managed to do it with good fuel economy, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, I must have done about, that weekend, I've done about 350 miles on that bike altogether. Because I had to travel from up in the Highlands anyway. And it didn't skip a beat, and it was really comfortable. I would definitely say it's a really good commuting bike, as well as being an off-road. So if you're looking for something where you, dual sport, where you just want something to bomb backwards and forwards to work on, and then on a weekend sort of just bimble down the road, and you see a trail, which obviously you have permission to ride on, and you can just go off. You can go off adventuring, and then when you've finished adventuring, you can just head back onto the road.
Yeah, it's maybe naive on my part, or it's maybe a little bit elitist. I know I'm not elitist, but maybe the way I'm thinking about it. But to me, just personally my opinion, but to me a bike like that just screams second bike. That's the way it looks like. That's kind of the impression I get from it.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely have it as your second bike.
I think if you're a young lad who's got a bit of money in his pocket and you need to compromise, yeah, it might be decent to have it. But I think for somebody that's established and has got himself a decent bit of coin in his pocket and can afford it, I think it's a bit of a fun second bike to have. Would you agree?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely. I mean, the main reason I went for it is because I was planning on doing some of the Trans-European Trail. So it was like, basically it's considered pretty much like a unicorn, like a really rare new dual sport, which is perfect for doing that sort of green laning and being able to go on and off road. So that's the main reason why I bought it. Definitely great as a second bike, absolutely, if you're wanting to do your on and off roading. Alongside just a thoroughbred road bike or sport bike. One of the other drawbacks I'm going to mention on the CRF is the subframe. So on the previous CRF, the 250L, the subframe was actually split up into two parts, and you could remove it fairly easily. And the main reason for that is if you bent it or anything when you're off road and you needed to take it off and put a new one on, you could do that. But for some reason, Honda decided that on the 300L they would have it all as one piece, so it's a fully welded subframe, which is even though they're not, it's very rare for the subframe to snap. You'd have to really, really like smash it quite badly or drop it off a cliff or something to snap the subframe. But if you were to actually crack it or snap it, you would have to buy an entire new frame, or even get like a really, really good weld job done on it. So that is a bit of a drawback on the bike. I don't know why they didn't just keep it like the 250L was. Like I say, so much easier. You could just remove it and put a new one on. But even with the drawbacks that I've mentioned, though, it really is a fantastic dual sport bike. It wouldn't disappoint anyone. I would go as far to say as it's maybe the best all-rounder dual sport bike ever made, but that's me probably being a bit biased because I used to own one and I do miss it.
I figured it would be hard to say too much harsh about it when you'd already owned one. Because you want it to be really good. Like you invested the money in it. I'm not to say your review's not good. I'm thinking that I'm thinking like, if you became an actual reviewer of a bike and you were riding bike out week in week out and you weren't paying for the bikes, like if you're jumping from one bike to the next, you'd be a lot more likely to be like, that's not very good. I don't like that bike at all. But
I get what you're saying, but I mean,
it's like when you invest £5,000 in something, you really want it to be good. Like even when it's not, you'd be like, no, it's good. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to do that. Just cable tie it.
I mean, the one thing I will say about this bike is I had to pre-order mine and I had to wait 6 months just to get it because Honda can't make the bikes fast enough to get into the showrooms. That's how popular this bike is. Even now, you go on the internet to try and buy one, and when they first came out, people were buying them, using them for a couple of months, and they were selling them for more than the asking price in the showroom because people wanted them. They were buying them for $5,500. They were selling them for $6,500.
Having their fun with it and then selling them on.
And then just making a profit. That's how popular they are. And with that as well, thinking if they're that selling like hotcakes, they're a good bike.
Do you know of anywhere or any opportunity to race them?
See, you wouldn't really see with the CRF because it's a dual sport, because you've got the indicators on there and the light and stuff. You wouldn't really race them. You would probably go for, and it's a 4-stroke as well, rather than a 2-stroke engine. You would probably go for a 2-stroke 250.
Yeah, but I don't mean like racing them against other bikes. I mean like, is there any way for like people on Honda CRF300Ls who just get together and race them? Like, is that? Yeah,
I mean, obviously you've got
ultimately you can if you troll through YouTube, you can watch people racing little Swingo road sweeps. Like, people will race everything. I'm just wondering, is there like a group on Facebook, or was there anything, or did you maybe stumble across anything where people were trying to like get them involved in any sort of competitive racing? Like, I mean, the answer's probably no. I'm just wondering.
I didn't see anything for them being raced, but obviously I was part of, like, I think 3 or 4 different CRF300 and 250L groups, and obviously most of the time they would just be meeting up with each other, to ride on and off road.
You wouldn't buy it to race.
No, I wouldn't personally race it. I mean, I went to a couple of clubs and went round some dirt tracks on it, and it was brilliant. I had loads of fun with it. So it is very capable of that as well. But you wouldn't really use it for racing, I don't think. But yeah, so that's my review on the 300L. If anybody does have any questions, you can obviously send us an email in to podcast@bigbadbs.co.uk. You can also send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, and all that good stuff. So if you do have any questions,
that's your attempt at the socials. We'll edit that. We'll edit about. We'll not edit it out. We'll keep it in there and make it look silly. Yeah. So that was Ash's review.
It's not over now.
Personally, I know Chip Pat's going to throw in his 2 cent and make it sound shy. I enjoyed it. I thought it was alright. I thought it was very informative. I thought he did a good job. Do a couple more. He's got more bikes to review. He's read more bikes than us. Maybe I'll review my Yamaha 125. It's not very good because I don't know how to ride it. I don't know what I do. I don't know how to do a review. It's got 2 wheels and it goes fast, and I can't ride it. But yeah, thanks for that, Ash. Enjoyed that.
How are you, Chippy? Are you okay over there?
If I'm ever struggling to sleep, I'll just listen to that. But no, I'm all good.
You're such a douche.
I've been playing with my dog, to be fair.
Is that a euphemism?
Right, so usually go on to questions. Don't have any questions this week, however. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Harvey asked us a question. Harvey, who's been getting in contact with us a few times, he asked us a question about a new class in British Supersport. Have you read this, Chippy?
Well, I've read it. It's British Supersport Cup, which so apparently she went to 8 rounds instead of 11.
His question was a few weeks ago. Thoughts on the new Supersport Club, or thoughts on the new Supersport Cup class, where riders have to miss 3 rounds of their own choice. Back then I thought it must be where, let's say, 20 riders all get together, and then I don't know if it's the start of the season where they have to nominate at the start of the season, or if it's throughout the season where they just say funds are tight this week, this is the week we're not going to turn up. It's probably at the start of the season, but yeah, they all pick 3 races they ultimately don't want to race in, and the other races they do, and then they accumulate the points, and then the idea would be that you'd pick your 8 strongest, and you'd maybe tactically try and pick a race where another rider's not going to be there, knowing that he's your rival. So and then it keeps some costs down on the running the productions of the bikes. So Harvey was just asking us a couple of weeks ago as to what we thought of it, what we thought of the idea. Do we think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think it's the future of motorbike racing? Do you think it's the future of racing in general? Or is it just a flash in the pan idea that's going to disappear?
I'm not sure, because I'm reading about it now. The 2023 British Supersport Championship will once again include the 2023 British Supersport Cup, which enables teams with less budget to score in 8 events. This will provide a logical transition for Ducati Cup teams based upon their established calendar of 8 events. I still don't really understand it.
I think the idea is that you go into the start of the season, there's 11 rounds, but on them 11 rounds, you can only race 8. Meaning that there's 3 rounds you don't have to turn up to. There's 3 rounds you don't have to pay tyres for. There's 3 rounds you don't have to pay fuel for. There's 3 rounds of potential crashes that you don't have to worry about. But the 8 you're going to pick is the 8 that you want to pick 8 tracks that you think you're going to do well at. And then, like, let's say Tommy is racing Billy and they're fighting for the championship, and race 3 Tommy doesn't turn up. It's Billy's opportunity to get some points and put pressure on Tommy. But then if Billy comes off, and then the next race 4 Tommy's racing but Billy's not, Tommy's like, well, I can capitalise on Billy's mistake so I can get some points. I don't know.
It's strange, and I suppose it helps. Sorry.
It would be a little bit upsetting, or not upsetting, but it would be a little bit of a missed opportunity if, let's say, for example, it was getting to the tasty part of the season, the last couple of races, and there was 2 riders who were in the same points, and you want to see them racing it out, and maybe one of them's not there, and you think, well, but in the second hand, it rolls that excitement over to the next week and the following week. Yeah. To be honest, Harvey, the answer to your question is we're not really sure. I guess we're just going to watch it like you are and try and enjoy the racing. I like how British Superbikes, this is a tangent to your question, I'm going to answer your question with a completely different answer, but I like how British Superbikes, how the whole paddock and the championship as a whole tries to innovate the sport in a way. I'm not saying other championships probably haven't done this, but just the way they bring in like the showdown and the way they try and change it to make it more exciting, and they bring in these other opportunities for championships. But whenever you read about the transition from the Ducati Cup, which is 8 rounds, is that now the BMW Cup? Or that was a BMW Cup?
Yeah, so the BMW Cup I think has replaced the Ducati Tri-Options
Right,
Cup.
so the BMW Cup does 8 rounds. So it's a similar sort of...
Yes.
So financially it's the same sort of burden as it would be to do the BMW Cup. Is it going to be more rookies, or is it going to be, or say rookies, inverted commas, or is it going to be like established racers that's taking part in it? Because it's not going to be super sport, obviously. Super sport, isn't it?
I don't know.
Chippy,
to be honest,
Chippy,
I'm a bit
you're
distracted.
The British Superbike,
because
you're the British Superbike guy. You're the guy that knows about British Superbike. Whenever I ask you a question about British Superbike, I expect the answer. You say Ash isn't professional. Why have you not done your homework?
I'm really not professional right now, Sam. I'm really not professional right now.
Being professional. This is what has distracted me. Have you seen the chat?
Fuck's sake.
No.
He hasn't been recording.
Oh my god.
I'm sure I pressed record and it's blank. But I have recorded on OBS.
I'm recording OBS as well.
Oh, thank fuck for that.
This is why we record in OBS as well.
Yes, this is why we do record on OBS. I do apologise.
You need a massive forfeit for this, because this could have potentially been an absolute disaster. And it's going to be an absolute bollocks to edit too. However, I think this week we've done all right. There's not been a lot of swearing. We've not gone on too many tangents. So, but Jesus. No, I've not read the chat. You must have been bricking yourself, Ash. Absolutely. But here it goes again. Sam, the ultimate professional, who's been recording in OBS this whole time.
Honestly, I was obviously. I clicked on Audacity and I looked at it and I just went, nah, I haven't. No, don't do this to me. I do apologise, Sam. I really do.
Maybe it's because you got a Windows laptop.
What?
Don't worry about it. I'm sure shit like that happens.
Maybe it's because I got what?
A Windows laptop. You should have got a
laptop.
At least I know how to use it. Well, clearly not with Audacity. But...
Right, well, there's no point saying that. I don't know how to use a fucking remote control, basically. I'm shit with technology.
Well, I do apologise.
I know how to hit record.
Luckily, it's recording on OBS and you've got it on there, so...
Yes, we need to get your forfeit, though.
Yeah, you need a forfeit. Listener, anybody listening in here, please get in contact. Send us an email and tell us what Ash should do for a forfeit. It doesn't have to be anything silly, but give us some sort of ideas.
Also remember that Sam also needs a forfeit because he dropped the C-bomb the other week. But then Ash dropped it last week, yeah. So Ash needs...
And Ash was the first person, if not maybe the only person, to swear in this episode. Have you heard me swear in this episode? No, I've been very professional, very good. So don't bring that up into it. Oh, Sam said a naughty word, therefore he needs a forfeit. Ash just didn't record.
And I swore.
This is definitely forfeit material. Please, listeners, anybody, if you're still listening, anybody that's still listening at this point, thanks very much. Anybody that's listening to it, please send us an email and tell us what you think Ash's forfeit should be. Because he has to do a forfeit for this. He's an idiot.
Who just put a duck on the screen? Oh, God. Right.
Anyway.
Have we got anything else to talk about?
I don't think we really do. I think we've kind of wrapped up for today. I think that's pretty much us.
Right.
Ash, do you want to give the socials a crack properly this time?
I'll try, but I obviously screwed it up massively before. Let's give it a go.
Right. I'll tell you what, go silent, try it, and if you fuck it up, I'll do it.
So, if any of you want to get in contact with either myself, Sam, or Chippy, you can email us at podcast@bigbadbs.co.uk. We are on YouTube as well, so please hit the like and subscribe buttons and you don't miss any episodes. That's just type in the Big Bad Bike Show. We're also on Twitter. If you can find it, it's all one word. The Big Bad BS. We're also on Instagram, again, the Big Bad Bike Show, and also on Facebook, the Big Bad Bike Show. So if you do want to get in contact with us, please do hit us up on any of them.
Instagram is the Big Bad Bike Show with hyphens in between it, but Ash doesn't know what a hyphen is, so he didn't say it.
Yeah. And then
Sorry,
also our own is it the Instagrams? It is Instagram, isn't it?
No, mine's Twitter.
So there's at
It
sober.
says there. It says Sam's Twitter.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. So Sam's Twitter at Sober Casano. Like I usually say, good luck finding that. My Instagram is the Up North Biker.
But don't expect to see bikes, it's all his dog.
Yeah, just my dog. And Chippy's Twitter is C_Ballard90, which is the worst name I've ever seen.
You love these little sound effects, Chippy has found sound effects.
This week, I'm just a write-off this week. I've just screwed everything up. I can't get the Lowe's Brothers right. I didn't record. I can't get the freaking thingies right.
Mistakes aside, you're not the only one that's made silly mistakes this week, Ash, so don't worry about it. I'm sure there's other people drowning their sorrows.
I know, I've just had an absolute mare this week, sorry.
It's fine, don't worry about it. At the end of the day, we're still recording. So hopefully, it says fingers crossed, hopefully we can get the audio. If we can't get the audio, ultimately you're not here anyway, but if you have heard it, if we have been lucky enough to salvage some audio and get it out there, thanks very much for listening. I've personally enjoyed the show tonight. I thought it went really well. I think that's probably helped from me not swearing all the time and actually putting a show out there that we feel people can listen to. A bit more professional. We'll keep that up. If you've enjoyed the show, like Ash said during the socials, please get in contact with us. Like it gives me a massive buzz whenever I see an email come in. I got a fax. Yeah, so get in touch. Let us know what you think of the show. Ask us a question. It's fine. My earphones are about to die, so I guess we're going to have to go. So yeah, thanks very much for listening, and I've been your host, Sam McCauley, and nothing else to do but just say goodbye.
See you later.
Goodbye.